Go. All right, welcome back, guys, for episode 6. We took a little break for the past 2 weeks because Blake was competing,
Don't blame me for this
and
shit.
then and then I had to get ready because I was leaving for Vegas. And as you see, we don't have any guests today because we feel like we look better when just us two alone. No,
Yeah,
just
the guests
kidding.
really slow us down the
Yeah,
last couple
yes.
weeks.
Yeah. So we had to recoup, get back into our thing, and now we're back. And hopefully we're not going to be missing any other week because we know you guys are in prep and need your podcast episode to listen to in the morning. We're also going to try and keep this under 60 minutes from now on, at least for a little while. So we're going to be doing this a bit shorter than the last few ones too. Uh, Lots to cover today as there was the Toronto Pro, which was what, a week and a half ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Blake competed, did very well. Then Blake has a lot to talk also about because Cam was at his place. So we're gonna go through Toronto Pro, Blake's prep, Blake plans for his next show. We're also gonna talk about me being in Vegas, what I did, which was not really bodybuilding related, but I still prepped a client while there. So I feel like that's something we can touch on and that coaches can get something out of.
I think we
And
should touch on like us working together a little bit more now, like
yeah,
business wise too. So we've been like skirting around the Elevate cream or ice a little bit. Like, we didn't want to get too in depth with too many different topics, but Julian and I have started we have started working together on it. So I think, it would be beneficial to share sort of like it's really the beginning of it.
yeah,
So the beginning of a new brand, it's in the fitness space. Hopefully you guys can take away some entrepreneurial advice as well. Like we together sort of cover completely different strengths. And that was, one of the reasons that I think we formed a really good partnership off the bat. So let's chat about that a little bit after as well.
yep, for sure. Um, I mean, we can really start with that. Might as
Yeah.
well. Um, so Elevate, for those of you that don't know, is a cream of rice. It's a cream of rice that's made for, well, pretty much anyone, but that will fit very well with people competing because of the way it's so easy to digest. There's no sugar in there. And Blake is really the one that started the brand. So maybe go like get us through your thought process on like why you started that, why you felt there was a need for it, because there was already like a few brands, and like really just like what made you go like, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it really started with Dorian and I. Well, it did start with Dorian and I. We formed a partnership, um, you know, late last year, but didn't actually launch the business until mid January this year. So even much before that, like it was probably a year and a half in the works of like developing flavors, making sure we had a good manufacturer, all the ins and outs of even just as simple as like forming the business, like structurally. But really the kind of driving force behind it was, a lot of people were ordering like Flavor Gang up in our area, whether it was for their preps or whether it was just because they enjoyed the product. So what we were seeing was an American brand that really was difficult at the time to get into Canada without paying like exorbitant amounts of shipping fees.
Yeah.
So, you know, Dorian already having a supplement brand, my intention, was to always have a product of my own, but obviously we weren't going to go down that road with the HD muscle thing. So, um, we really just thought that this was a good outlet to sort of build around. So really, Elevate isn't just a cream of rice brand, it's a fitness foods brand. So we want to eventually expand into, and we are expanding right now into sauces, bars, you name it that can fit within like a healthy nutritional lifestyle. But the cream of rice was one that we were like, There's also some major issues we found with other brands in terms of whether it be flavor, whether it was the cooking, and then obviously digestion being like a forefront for me and Dorian personally, but also for, every athlete that's going to be eating cream of rice. Like when you're a bodybuilder or when you're living that fitness lifestyle, rice is like paramount, in the diet plan. So, and that's simply because of digestion.
Yeah,
There's very few people I've yet to even hear one that would be allergic to rice.
yeah,
It's very, very clean for your stomach to digest. It's a simple single grain. But we were finding that with some other brands, there was a lot of like inclusions into their formulations that were whether it was slowing down digestion with some fiber content or whether it was just like, way too many sweeteners,
yeah,
artificial flavors, those types of things, artificial dyes as well. We thought that, hey, like if we can make a really high quality product that digests really well and tastes amazing, let's go ahead and launch it. So, that was a year and a half ago.
yeah,
We went through many, many different trials of sampling product until we came up with the three current flavors that we have, which are chocolate cake, cookie butter, and Georgia peach. And, we love all of them. And then from that point, it was just like, now we're looking to expand the line. And that was when, we sort of thought, how can we do that? And I reached out to you because
yeah.
I know you have a really good background with marketing and with athletes and things like that. So maybe you can touch on um, what your background is, like how you kind of came to be so good at what you do.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, obviously, as you stated, and I think that's the main thing and why I personally want to associate with the company or not, and really even more so like get more involved in that, is the first thing you need is a good product, right? Even if you're super good at marketing, like if the product is not good, you won't get repeat orders. Like you'll sell it once and then people are going to notice, well, my digestion is bad, the taste is not good, the orders take too long to receive, there's always something back order, etc., etc. So um, that's why personally I wasn't associated with any cream of rice brand for the past year, because I've been with the brand before, but I noticed a lot of problems. So that's why when you reached out, I was like, knowing you and Dorian, even before testing the product, I was like, this is going to be top quality because I know how much effort you put into things. And I don't think most people realize like how good you are with like business and how you're like a perfectionist with everything. And then also knowing Dorian, knowing he wouldn't put his name on something he wouldn't eat. And he's also a very perfectionist people, someone that's very like looking
He's the
for top.
pickiest food person in the entire world.
Yeah,
He'll send things back at restaurants. I've seen him do it.
yeah,
He's like, unless this tastes perfect, we're not going ahead with it. And like, I mean, that's what made it so great. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you guys being in the industry and having contacts with manufacturers and all that kind of stuff, because I feel like the current other cream of rice product had either like someone that's good with like food kind of, but doesn't really know the industry, or you get the complete opposite, someone that's in the industry, but that knows next to nothing about how to build a business, a brand, all that kind of stuff.
They don't have the resources. Like some of
No.
them are like just guys blending it in their kitchen and
Yeah.
bagging it and selling it, right? So like there's limitations obviously with
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And also,
Yeah.
like realistically, there's also a question of budget, right? Like you need a certain amount of money that's available to be able to develop the product the way you want and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So having Elevate being backed by other businesses kind of is also something that's really good because then it's easier to develop new flavors and all that kind of stuff without depending solely on your income or on the brand itself, right?
Mhm.
Um, so as far as my background goes, so I got a bachelor in marketing from Montreal, and it's always something that I've been really interested in. it's also why, and I realized that really quick, that I have an easier time getting sponsorships or getting like collabs with companies and all that kind of stuff. Because most of the athletes nowadays think, hey, I'm this guy or that girl, and this is what I want, without providing any reason or any incentive for the company to want to work with them. Like, as a company, I don't really care that you like my product. Well, I do care that you like my product, but that's not going to put money in our pockets, right? Like, don't tell me why you want us to send you free products. Tell me why
We
or
should.
how, yeah,
Yeah.
why you we should and how you're going to benefit us, right?
But
Because
do you think that's an education thing? Because you were speaking about your degree, or do you think that's more because you've been on the other side of the coin and like you because like even with my short time at Fusion, I had people
yeah,
reaching out all the time, and it's like a dime a dozen, right? Like you're
oh, for
getting
sure.
messages every single day. Hey, I want to be part of the team, but
Yeah.
with zero like value add, you know?
I think it's my education mostly, but then being on the other side just confirmed it. Because
Yeah.
even when I started, when I was reaching out to a company, I was literally sending out like an athlete CV
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
like a presentation letter and giving exactly like what I would do for the company, how I would bring sales.
Hmm.
So after seeing how many people are really bad at applying for a sponsorship, it made me realize like, wow, this is why like I'm not getting turned down by anyone. It's
Yeah.
because like literally the way I present myself stands out. And
Mhm.
that's really what marketing is, right? I was basically selling myself, right? So because of that, and I feel like I kind of know what to look for in athletes. Like
Well, it's
an
a
athlete,
relationship, right?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like getting in a relationship with someone and you offer nothing.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, and you're like looking to benefit from all these great things from the other person. It's like, well, you got to bring something to the table here. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. It
if it's
needs to,
a mutual benefit, like that's perfect.
y-
Obviously, you know, if you're gonna join a brand and they're giving you nothing, but you're selling like, you know, thousands of units, then you're on the other side of
yeah,
like, hey, you should get more. But a lot of people, like you said, like they're signing up or they're wanting to come on, but like, and maybe they are great, but they don't sell themselves to you. They just
no,
say, hey, I love your product. I want to be a part of the brand. But
yeah,
really, it should be, this is what I can offer to the brand. What can you offer in return? Sort of thing, right?
100%. And look, like I've been doing this with Believe for over 2 years, and I've yet to receive one person send me an application or an email or contact me saying, hey, look, I want to be with you guys. These are the numbers I was bringing on for another brand, whether it's
Mhm.
another supplement company or another fitness related brand. I have gotten that zero times. As far as I'm concerned, every time I've applied for a sponsorship with a brand, I was like, these are the numbers I bring. I can provide the details. This automatically shows the company, like, look, I understand that you need to make money from that sponsorship, not that it's just about me and using my name. Because look, for you
But a lot
guys,
of
and
people have that like almost narcissistic viewpoint when, especially when you're in the influencer world and like you're getting attention and stuff. Like it's like a woe is me kind of scenario. But what people don't realize is like, man, doesn't matter how many followers you have, there's a million other influencers that have just as many, if not more,
well,
followers than you do, right? So it's like they get in, or not everybody obviously, but some people just get in the way of themselves by thinking like, you know, they're it's like an entitled
yeah,
sort of thing. But to your point, like in today's day and age, we have so many analytics available to us
yeah,
that even if you don't have a pre-existing sponsorship where you can say, hey, like I did X amount of sales, you can maybe show them the impressions that you're getting on your Instagram. Maybe
yeah,
you're getting 200,000 views every 30 days. That's important to a brand, you
oh,
know,
for sure.
sometimes whether you're selling or not. There's other value adds there. And like, you know, I even remember the time when I was with HD, when I first started, like my following wasn't great. I didn't really have too much going on in terms of social media, but I offered a lot of like, if you guys need someone for photos,
Yeah,
videos, like I'm open to do it all of that, like inclusion
yeah,
in thing. So like there's other ways that you can help prop yourself up. And then when you're thinking about that individually, you're like, well, if they're going to use me for marketing content, that's also going to benefit my own personal brand too, right? So
Yeah.
there's many ways that like you can angle yourself where it's a mutual benefit.
Oh,
And
for
and that
sure.
goes back to anything with business. So like as much as like, if we sell tons of cream of rice, it's great for us, but it should also be great for the consumer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
They should get the cream
100%.
of rice, love it, want to eat it daily, and have great workouts and that kind of thing because of it. You know what I mean? It's not
Oh,
like,
for sure.
oh, great, we sold it all, but it's horrible,
No,
right?
yeah, and
Like,
that brings me back to exactly what I said first is as for myself, like I need to associate with a brand where the product is top quality, and that's the first thing I'm gonna look for, right?
yeah, for sure.
Because
And that's where people too like you got to align yourself with something that fits your own values, right?
for sure, because it's also my name and your name, right? And
Yeah.
even if you relate that to coaching, let's say you put out a product that's complete crap, then someone tries it, hates
Mhm.
it, and knows that you're the one that approved that product. You're never gonna get hired for coaching by that person. Person's gonna be
Yeah,
like,
you're setting yourself up to have to redeem yourself, right? And like when you're
100%.
and when you're in that position where you're consistently doing that over time, then no one will trust you.
No, for sure. And imagine like your clients, like as a coach, you recommend the product that's bad to your clients. Well, that won't get you anywhere either, right?
Yeah.
So for me, like when you reached out and asked me like if I wanted to take on that role, like I was super excited, right? Because to
What
me,
is the role though, Julian? Because I don't think people know.
okay, well, I'm athlete manager, right? So basically, when you guys apply or girls apply for sponsorship or want to join the team or anything like that, I'm going to be the one deciding if we do take you guys or girls on or not. Realistically, right now, we're not looking for micro influencers. So if you're watching and being like, oh, nice, I'm going to DM Julian after the episode, we're mainly looking for bigger influencers right now. And maybe at some point we'll go into the micro influencers, if my influencer space, but right now that's not what we're looking for. There's reasons for that. There's marketing reasons, there's business decision reasons, but that's just the way it is right now. What I can tell you for everyone listening that's trying to apply for any kind of sponsorship, if what you say, hey, I use your products and I really like it, I would love to represent the brand, there's a 99.99% chance you're not getting a reply or getting a solid no, because there's literally zero value into that. So, with that being said, um, we do want to bring that business to higher levels. And it's really just me allowing Blake and Dorian to have time to develop everything more on the back end, more of the like stuff you don't see. But then, like, if there's a new flavor coming out, well, that's not because of me. That's going to be because of Blake and Dorian. Um, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, like we all have our roles, right? And things are growing very quickly, which is amazing to see. Like, since you've come on, we've tripled online sales.
Yeah,
We've more than tripled the amount of influencers that are representing the brand. Um, and having credibility, like to your point, where you haven't put your name on anything that, hasn't been something that you believed in.
yeah,
And you can tell, like, even when you're promoting things, that it's like, you truly love whatever the product is that you're speaking toward.
yeah, for
So
sure.
that's an indicator for people when they begin to trust you, right?
Yeah,
You're putting out a lot of free value with your Q&As and that kind of thing. So people have this type of like, whatever Julian's telling me is probably truthful,
yeah,
or for the most part would be truthful.
yeah.
So I think that when you have that type of, I guess
No
like
bullshit.
representation, yeah,
Yeah,
or look online, it's a lot easier of a conversation to have than someone, like to your point, like a different brand in the industry that doesn't have that type of like liaison that can
yeah,
speak to these different influencers. Like that's where you provide so much value, is that like you're you're already in the industry.
Yeah.
People know who you are. So when you reach out, it's like you're having conversation as a friend,
Yeah.
not as a corporation and as a brand. And it's a lot less kind of corporate feeling when
For sure.
we're working on things. And I love that feel because it's been a lot of fun. Like even for me personally, like, I've done 10 years in a corporate job where I'm wearing like not a suit and tie, but a dress shirt and like
Yeah.
doing the whole Zoom meeting, having people come, have a cup of coffee, that type of stuff. And now like I
And see,
don't even
let me
pretend not.
interrupt. Let me
Yeah,
interrupt you. Just
yeah.
see, that's funny because what you just said, I bet is something 99% of your following has no
No
freaking clue
idea. Yeah.
about.
No idea. And
So
I don't
they're
even know if I have time to cover much of that.
yeah,
But
no, so they're like, why is Julian saying like Blake is really good with business stuff and shit? Like they don't know, but like there's a reason for it, right?
yeah, I mean, I can give a spark notes basically. So it's been a family thing. Like my grandfather founded a business, a distribution business, in sort of the life science space. So it's a scientific kind of product base that we would sell across Canada for universities and research hospitals to use in their studies, which is completely far away from anything that I'm passionate about. But I did it for 10 years and it was able to kind of bring me up to speed and give me a business acumen that's all experience based.
Yeah.
So I went to college for a year just to party, basically, knowing that absolutely nothing that came of that was going to be useful for me.
Yeah.
And when I decided, I said, hey, I'm starting to waste my time. I'm not even really enjoying this anymore. So, I reached out to my dad. He said, all right, we got a spot for you. And he basically used it as like a grassroots way to put me in like literally every department. Like,
Well, that's good.
and I've done everything from like stickering like catalogs in a mailroom to like accounting to
Yeah.
purchasing to managerial roles, everything. And my dad ended up actually selling the business in 2019. And at that point, it was becoming very, very corporate, and I was
Yeah.
getting way more into bodybuilding. And I thought, if ever I'm gonna exit, this is my only
Yeah.
chance to get
That's your
out, right?
chance.
So I did that. And for a while it was a lot of like figuring things out on my own. And I
Yeah.
started the coaching business, and then now I'm at the point where like I always like to have a few different things on the go,
Yeah.
and having a product was always a dream of mine. So to be able to kind of do this and for it to be having the response that it has had, it's been really great. Like it's honestly really fun. But I'm just gonna go back to what I was talking about. So like
Yeah.
when I was having these meetings like with dress shirts on and that kind of thing, like it's not that I felt like forced at the time, but now like, I'll have a conversation with someone in a extremely business setting,
Yeah.
but not even have to like I can be myself now,
Yeah.
like I don't care I'll hop on a t-shirt on a Zoom call and like
Yeah.
I'll speak the way I like would speak on this podcast versus having to like kind of manipulate that a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
just like this is what it is. This is my brand. You know what I mean? I don't have to pretend to be anybody else. And I think that the conversations that I've had, like with some of the customers, B, the suppliers, and C, like distributors, it's just like they see the value because like I'm in the middle of the
Yeah.
industry. Like I'm competing at the highest level. I've like all my friends are IFBB pros and
Yeah.
coaches and like people that would consume this type of product. And at the same time, like, Dorian has a crazy long history of great
For
entrepreneurial
sure.
success. Like he's been a mentor as well to me. But it's been like so fun to watch him grow like the industry, even in this area. Like people are moving from all over the world to train
Yeah.
here
Yeah,
and
for sure.
use his products, use his gym. He's getting recognition in the US now with opening gyms and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I'm like, man, if I could align myself with this guy, like the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
So really, really exciting stuff. It's just like when we first started, like I was doing everything,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like answering customer emails and doing this. I was shipping and receiving. I have a label maker right
Yeah,
beside me. So I think at the beginning you got to do that to save on costs,
100%.
right? Like
Yeah,
it's not something to think like, oh, it's super flashy. You're making a ton of money off the bat. Like I'm not making anything. Like I
no,
haven't paid myself a dime from this. So it's just like there is definitely a lot of like I put in thousands of hours at this
yeah,
point, obviously. But kind of to the point is that like I could only do so much on my own. And that was when, we reached out to you as
yeah,
well. We wanted you to help us with not only just the athletes, but the marketing behind the brand
yeah,
and that kind of thing. And yeah, without getting in the weeds too much, that's how our involvement came together for this project. And it's been really fun. Like
yeah.
it really has been a lot of fun.
And we really appreciate the support also that we've been receiving from pretty much everyone. Like, I feel like everyone loves the product. Once they try it, they're like hooked on. Uh,
It's so fun to see that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like it's like as much as like I love it, I'm like I want everyone else to love it
yeah.
even more, you know?
Oh,
So
for
like
sure.
every time I see someone post something that's like best cream of rice ever or whatever, like this is a game changer and stuff, I'm like, yes, man.
Yeah, and see, I think that's a reason why like we do well and we're gonna keep doing well is because
Well,
as
we've
much
tried
as
everything too.
yeah, we
Like
tried
I've had
everything.
every
Yeah,
cream of rice,
yeah,
so
and
I'm
as
not
much,
like,
well, for sure, and as much as
yeah,
just like cream of fries, like we're actually like passionate about it. Like
yeah.
we're passionate about the product, about where we're going to position ourselves in the fitness industry with that. Like it's not just about we want to sell a ton of cream of fries bags, right? It's more like
Mhm.
we want to be known as like the best freaking cream of fries company out there and then move from just cream of fries to everything else, right?
Mhm.
The goal is to be like, oh shit, like that's the reference.
Yeah, and you can see it with the customers that are saying like it's the best they've had, right? So it's
For
like
sure.
you're benefiting their day to day. Like, man, if you're eating this thing 1 to 2 times a day and it's 50% better, 70% better than anything you've ever had, like it's improving your way of life in a small sense.
Yeah, and not just like customers, but also like the athletes joining the team. And if you're one of our athletes, like we thank you for believing in us. And like realistically, we're not offering much right now, right? But the athletes having tried the product also see the value in it and also see like, okay, well, there's a big potential for that to be
Yeah.
super big. And like some of our guys could have offers from, or girls could have offers from every company, right? They could
Hmm.
be maybe paid more somewhere else too. But because it's the product that they feel is the best, then it's like, well, I want an association with these guys. So that just really shows us like we're moving in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. We have
And
a vision, but it's cool to see that other people share of that vision
yeah,
or maybe even like think because like you're in your own bubble, you know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like as much as like you're always surrounded by people telling you how great of a job you're doing. So
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's hard to see, but you get a lot more reinforcement when like even if someone like Ian,
Yeah.
right? Like getting a name like Ian on the team, representing the product is another one where it's like, you're looking at a premier influencer athlete
Yeah.
that's enjoying the product. Like it just shows how high of a standard that we have and like exactly where the brand is moving, which is yeah, like it's been a ton of fun. And I think too, like to speak to more like if people are actually interested in like how a startup works and like more like nuts and bolts in terms of like, what did I do to have to get to? I mean, we're not that far along yet. We're only
Yeah.
like 6 months into the business, but those preliminary stages of like trying to find a manufacturer, do this and that, like what does that look like, right? So, I mean, I'm happy to speak more toward that in the future if that's a topic that people would be
Yeah.
interested in hearing about too.
Yeah. I feel like we'll definitely do an episode where we also get Dorian on, and
Yeah.
then we can just talk about all that like more in depth.
But we're trying to do an hour here, right? This
Yeah,
is what we
yeah.
do every
So
time.
that's what you
So,
guys get
all
for
right, see you
today.
later,
Moving
guys.
on. All right. So complete change of space of pace.
Yeah.
Pronto Pro. You got second because of
Yeah,
your thick
numero
ass,
dos.
yeah, because of your thick ass waist.
Yeah.
So first,
Okay, so
so wait,
funny
first
story. No,
question.
hold
Did you
on.
start wearing a corset?
I have my belt on right now. I got so the kid that beat me from the UK, he has like a crazy TikTok following. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, really?
He's
No, I
TikTok
don't.
famous because I was wondering, I'm like, man, he has so much like support and fans.
Yeah.
Like anytime like Bodybuilding Without Borders or any of those pages like shared us,
Yep.
people would just roast me, dude.
Oh,
Like,
really?
oh yeah, like I got like so many like between prejudging and finals, like people just writing stuff like this guy's got no shape, like he should do open and stuff, and I'm just thinking like these people are nuts. But at the same time, like it's really like for me at a like I'm at a point in my life where like I actually love that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
I love people talking shit about me because it's like it's just people talking, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it was cool because it was good for me too because because he was so like known on TikTok,
Gave you
it
some
started to bring more
visibility.
attention to me too,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, I do have like a 40-inch waist when I stand beside him.
Yeah, when you st
That's how good his structure
yeah,
was.
I'll just show what he looks like real quick to those who are not aware. Um,
He looks like an alien, man.
so so you
Like
guys
that's
can
just
see like
wild,
this
man.
is nuts.
And like that looks Photoshop, dude.
Yeah.
But like even watching this guy walking around backstage, I'm like, his structure is like Julian. Does this sound ridiculous when I say he might have the best structure in the entire classic division?
No, he probably does. And
He probably
he's
does.
tall too, right?
He's taller. He's like a
Like,
bit taller than me, man.
yeah, like this is ridiculous.
Very, very good
And like
waist.
his legs are really good too.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there's like a bit more muscle, a bit more density, pretty much
He
like
needs a little
about,
bit more
yeah.
size and a little bit more hardness. Like,
Yeah. By the way, we don't want that anymore.
by the way, crop that out. Um,
So yeah,
yeah,
I
so
mean
no, he was
there's not really any weak point on him, right? Like
zero, dude.
you were super conditioned. You obviously have more muscle. Thing is, like his waist is so small that it makes everything else look bigger, right?
Yeah, let's just for fun go to my page and look at some of the comparisons. That these ones
Right
here.
there. Yeah.
So you can just see the difference in structure, obviously, like completely different looks, but
Yeah.
there was
Like this was a shot that I felt was pretty close. Thing is, then again, like when you look right there, it's like, fuck, what can you do, right?
yeah, and you know what? Like I do think it actually was pretty close.
Oh, it
Like
was for sure.
because there's certain shots where I thought I was like harder and I carried more size, right?
Yeah, well, like, look, even this shot, let's say we weren't changing anything, but just pulling your waist in
Yeah,
by
if my waist
right
could shrink
there,
3 inches, I would win
then
this
you
show.
would win this show.
Yeah, then I would win the show. Yeah, because even this shot, like a little bit harder.
Yeah. No, it's really like to me, and I said that before, like he won on shape, on structure and shape mostly, right?
I did think leaving like obviously when you're leave prejudging, you have no idea,
Yeah.
right? Like I knew there was a top two call out. Like I thought I was bringing it.
Yeah.
Then when I got back and I saw some of the photos, I'm a realist,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, he's beating me, but there's still like that
There's a
puncher's
chance.
chance
Yeah.
that like because it's in Toronto, because like there was a
Yeah.
lot of hype around it, maybe they call my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't like in between prejudging thinking I had lost. And I
No.
also thought too that like so I don't we'll talk more about the cam piece, but basically our strategy was to go into prejudging bursting full
Yeah.
because so here's the other interesting thing. I didn't pump at all for prejudging. Not
Really?
not not one side lateral, not one bicep curl. I just walked on stage.
Okay.
Because for me, I know that like I'm gonna be in the group and I'm gonna pose and pose and pose and
And you're
get
gonna get
better.
harder.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to fade either, too, right?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of an unfortunate thing because every other show I've done at the pro level, I've been in the mix and they've worked us.
Okay.
So like I would do, maybe 10, 15 minutes of like posing between like the top call out. And like by the end of it, I'd be fried.
Yeah.
So for this show,
Becky was moving fast.
Becky called us out. We did our thing. She called the top two. She said, leave or whatever, so
Yeah.
they could compare everyone else. When they brought us back, I'm like, here we go. Like we're gonna pose 3, 4, 5 rounds, maybe.
Yeah.
I think we
You
maybe
did
did
two, I
two,
think. Yeah, they
maybe
switched two.
two.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if we hit back double twice or anything like that. So
Well, yeah.
I
It was
was
quick.
kind of like, if I had to take any disappointment away from it, I just wish they worked us harder because I was prepared for like multiple rounds.
Yeah.
Like I had posed my ass off all prep. I had tons of glycogen, so I knew I was just going to keep getting better and harder. But obviously, like when you're looking at someone with a structure like him,
Yeah.
it's so impressive.
Your eyes are drawn to it,
It's so
right?
impressive that they were just like in their head, they're like, we don't need to see anymore,
Yeah.
And I'm total like, and I get that.
Yeah.
So when I came back for finals and like I still thought in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna come second.
Yeah.
But if I came first, man, I'm gonna lose my mind. So
Yeah.
so I wasn't disappointed at all. And I felt like, I brought a really, really good package. It just I ran into a really, really great guy.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And look, it's not like there's nothing you can do about it because you still have room with your weight cap, right?
10
So like,
pounds.
yeah. So like, let's say we added 5 pounds on your frame. That might change everything because then the proportions look a bit different. You outsize the guy by more, so you
Yeah.
never know. Um, I do remember backstage you asked me like, "Hey, what?" Like before finals, like, "Hey, what do you think? Who's
And
winning?"
you're like, yo, I think you lost. You know
So
what? I asked a few people, and like based on the way that they answered the question, I was like, damn. Even Sarah, dude. Like Sarah was like, "Oh, his shape is crazy." I'm like, I don't need to hear that right now. The only person that messaged me like that had like a lot of credibility
yeah,
was Dorian, who was like, "I think you won."
really.
And that was like very motivating for me.
So you just focused on his
I just
message,
read
right?
that and deleted everything else.
Yeah. So how do you feel about were like everyone saying like I don't think you're winning, or were most people saying like I don't know, it's super close, or
Well, like I said, like because he had so many fans,
no, but
I
I mean
saw like a
in
few people.
your entourage, like
Oh, like of the people messaging me,
yeah,
I kept it pretty slim. Like I think I only really reached out to you and then I took obviously Cam's advice,
yeah, for sure.
Sarah, and then Dorian messaged me as
Okay.
well. So it wasn't like I was messaging everyone being like, what do
Yeah.
you think? Because
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, like, what are they gonna say? You know what
No,
I
for
mean?
sure.
But Cam was careful with how he brought it up, but I think everybody that watched kind of knew that I wasn't gonna win,
Yeah.
right?
I also
But it was close, yeah.
yeah, and I'll also feel this say this for myself, and I kind of do the same with my athletes, is when it's super close to the finals and the results are already decided,
Yeah,
I rather create or lower the expectation and then potentially see someone being positively surprised than
yeah.
create like expectations than the person being possibly uh face a deception.
Disappointed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one thing though at the amateur level because you know full well they're not
Yeah.
changing their decision.
Yeah.
I still had this thought that maybe we would do a confirmation round.
For sure. But look, if
So
they do that and I tell you I think he's winning right now, I also know, knowing you, that you're gonna pose like L, right? Because you'll be like,
yeah, but you know what? I'm the type of person where like with people that I'm close, like I don't want you to lie to me.
no, for
You know what I
sure.
mean? But I also, if a few people were like, "Hey, like I think you're not going to get it or whatever," or like I think he's beating you.
Yeah.
I think I would take the wind out of my sails a little bit for
Really?
finals versus push me.
Okay.
I think if someone, because I'm looking at it going, I think I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
But if someone reached out and they're like, dude, I think you have it, then I'd be like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
I gotta bring it again, and like I've never took my foot off the gas from prejudging the finals, regardless of the
Oh,
outcome,
for
like
sure.
whether I was dead center or like off to the side or whatever. But the thing that bugs me about bodybuilding is that like a lot of the shows, like, what's the point in finals?
Yeah. It's a show,
Like you
right?
can't like
Yeah.
because athletes can make adjustments.
Yeah.
Like like when you're in that type of environment where your body's changing by the hour, you can make a pretty drastic change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could potentially dry out 2 to 3 pounds in between that period of time, coming way drier, or you could eat like, ton of carbs and a little bit of water and bring some life back to your physique. So like in it's hard because there's so many athletes,
Yeah.
but I wish in a perfect world, like there would be some form of judging at finals.
Well,
Because otherwise, like I'm not just there to like collect the
no.
reward and do the posing.
Well, for sure. If it was just me, I would take out the routines and just put another round of comparisons. Because I really don't care about
I'm not a
watching
routine
routines.
guy either.
Yeah.
I
I would just,
hate the
yeah,
routine.
I would just be like, let's compare again. And then
Like some
like,
people live for the routines.
yeah.
And like I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like that one like little Italian kid that had a big following, like he had a crazy good
Yeah.
routine, like really great. But I'm like, this does nothing
No, exactly.
like for your stage,
No.
decision. Like it does maybe something for your Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, I see it the same way as if they ran an hockey game and then they have like Connor McDavid go through shootouts that don't count and make like cool
Yeah. So
moves.
like if you're gonna
Like,
have opposing routine, make it count.
yeah,
Because if it like let's say it even influences it 10%,
yeah,
I'm gonna practice the hell out of that.
for sure.
But I'll be honest with you, if they're not judging it at all,
You don't
I'm
try
winging it.
hard. Oh, for
I'm winging
sure.
it.
For sure.
And like it's hard because they obviously want you to put on a show for the people that are watching because a lot of the people that are there, they don't understand. They
No.
just want to see like some cool physique like posing, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard when like your day's already constructed of like a million hours
Oh, for
of
sure.
stuff that goes into bodybuilding, and then all of a sudden you got to come up with a dance routine. It's
Yeah.
like that's not scored.
No.
So it is a challenge. As much as I'd love to go out there and like be a great poser and have a routine and stuff, I just can't find the time
No.
to allocate towards it for no reward.
No. I mean, maybe when you're on the big Olympia stage, you'll find the time.
If I was, yeah, at the night show.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, oh man, that's getting more and more elusive for me. I
Yeah.
even like this year, man, like no one knows this. I haven't even talked to Cam about it, but maybe you have advice for me.
What?
So, like, I'm not like obviously I have to win Indiana
Yeah.
to have the opportunity to go to the Olympia.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, man, if I go, I'm not going to be in the top 15. So like it's hard it's harder for some people to take into account because they're like you'd be so foolish not to go to the Olympia, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
But
you've
at the
been
same
already.
time, the experience that I had the first time in 2022 was
Yeah.
very poor. And
Yeah.
it was very poor because there was so many athletes
Yeah.
and all of this excitement and travel and everything for literally 2 minutes on stage.
Yeah.
And it's not even the big stage. You're at the
No.
expo.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I'm like, man, obviously, if you have a chance to top 15, it's incredible. You have such a wonderful experience. You're at the night show and there's all these fans and stuff. But
Don't they have the only top 10 at night show though? I
I
think
think
they
they
do.
bring the top 15, but only top 10.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I think the top 15 are there. But I don't know exactly with the posing and that kind of thing. They judge the top 16, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they
And
do.
then anything after 16 is did not place.
Yeah.
And I still feel too that I had a conversation with a few people about this. It's like, let's say it's going to be the same thing this year. Let's say 16 to 60.
Yep.
I personally don't feel there's any difference from 16 to 40
Yeah.
because I don't think that they're putting that much stock into. So like if someone beat me there and was in like the third call out or fourth call out and I was in the fifth,
Doesn't matter.
it makes
Yeah.
no difference to me. Like
Yeah.
so that's the other thing I find challenging is that like maybe if they judged absolutely every person, but
Yeah.
it would be impossible, then it would be fun. Because like the first time I went, I think I was like fifth or sixth call out. So
Yep.
I don't know, 40th or something like that, right? If you're doing it that way.
Yeah.
And if I could legitimately be like, okay, I'm 20th this year,
Yeah. There's no way
that
to
would be
see where
pretty
you
cool.
fall. Yeah.
But if I go there and I'm 20th or I'm 60th, I still
Yeah.
think I'm in the same spot.
Yeah. I get it. Um, I mean, it really depends what your end goal is, I find. Like if your goal is, okay, I want the fastest route to being in a position where I can place top 15, and you don't feel like that's in the cards for this year, then I would not compete this year because obviously being in prep for a longer time is going
I
to
don't
take
have the
away.
back density to be top 15 in the world right now. I just don't.
Yeah. So then the other question I would ask myself is, do I think I'm going to have fun going in if I'm doing the show?
Well,
And
yes, I'll have a lot of fun. Yeah. But again, I'm glad that you see it this way because I've talked to just a couple people about it and
yeah.
like some like it's been like very much like you will absolutely regret not going.
No, I would say you would regret if you hadn't been before, right? Like
Yeah.
someone qualifying for their first time, whether they're ready to do
Oh,
well or not, I'd be like,
100%.
go, right? But you've had that experience. You kind of know how it feels.
Mhm.
Was it in Vegas?
Yep.
Yeah. So it was also in Vegas. Like I would say, like if it was Orlando, I'd be like, well, maybe the different experience is going to be a bit different, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. Uh, but that's really what I would look at. Like, do I feel like the pleasure or the fun I'm gonna have is worth the prep time plus blah 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 blah.
And
There's also another
I
thing,
wonder
right?
too, like I never want to talk about this with Cameron because like I'm not even qualified.
Yeah,
But like with him, up until like up to this point, every single time we've chatted has been like how to get the most out of my career.
yeah.
And that's why we took that amount of time off. And like I came back so much better. So I'd be curious, like,
To
as a
see where he,
as a
yeah,
coach, you
yeah,
don't have many opportunities to coach someone at the Olympia.
no,
So obviously there's a big benefit there. But again, when I have this conversation with him, we'll chat about it. But I am curious to see what he thinks. And I'm by no means saying I'm not doing it.
yeah.
Like,
No, but there's also
um,
many reasons for you to do it, right? If you do qualify, because like marketing wise for yourself, for the brand, for
100%.
coaching, there's a big benefit in all of that, right?
Yeah.
You can, if you do it correctly, you can take and like use that so much to push, elevate, to push your coaching, to push yourself as an athlete, to have a
I know. I
bit like
think that
YouTube
too.
series, all that kind of stuff, right?
But I also think that, like, man, when I'm doing bodybuilding, like, a lot of the choices or 99% of the choices I want to be making are specifically to being better at bodybuilding.
Yeah, but that's not true because
What?
I feel like that's not true in the sense that I feel you're super efficient business wise from like 12 weeks out to 4 weeks out.
But I am in the off season too.
Yeah, but in the off season you don't post on Instagram,
Yeah,
right?
but is my personal brand
I feel it's all
as
related.
as important?
Well, do you feel it takes away that much from you building a brand when you're in prep?
No.
So what's the downside business wise?
Well, and that's the conversation. Like, obviously, there is a benefit to improving your own likeness and brand and those kinds of things. And it's impossible to quantify
No,
what that value is,
no.
right? But I I think I'm proven enough in the industry to not have to like do it to like get recognition from people to help build a brand.
Yeah, but see it that way, right? Aside from wanting to do well at the Olympia, I know for a fact you also want to establish yourself as like one of, if not the best in Canada, if we forget Chris exists, right? So doing the Olympia would allow you to be compared to the other Canadians that are going to qualify.
But it doesn't though, because what I said about the way that they judge it.
Yeah, but I mean, people have eyes, right? They can still
None of the
see.
top 15 guys are going to be Canadian outside of
No,
Chris.
I know, but I mean, if we let's say the guy placing last, whether
Yeah.
he's last for real or not in the comparison, we're going to be able to compare him to you, what even if you're not side by side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like there's some merit to that too.
I see what you
It's
mean.
like there's some positive, there's some negative for sure. Like obviously, if you prep until October, then it's less time for you to build more muscle off season wise and all that kind of stuff. I do think Cam is gonna have really, really good insight into what he
He
thinks you
will.
should do, though.
He will. Yeah. Honestly, like I trust everything that he's done because of the result that I got in
Yeah,
Toronto.
and it's
Had
fun.
I come out and looked like a bag of milk, like
Yeah,
we'd be having a different conversation. But
yeah.
the amount of changes I made from 2022 to 2024, like I can't not take everything he says,
No,
to
yeah,
heart
yeah.
because
And it's funny
yeah,
because like you haven't had a conversation with him, but he's probably already thought about it and already has his answer, right?
yeah, maybe, yeah,
So
I'm sure. Um,
with that being said, for those that don't know, Blake's gonna win in what, 9 days, 10 days?
it's yeah, so I leave next Wednesday. I'm gonna drive,
Oh,
which will be
really?
interesting. Yeah.
So
It's only
next,
7 hours from here though.
oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah. And I'll have a couple days in between if I have any like fatigue or whatever from driving. I'm not too worried
Yeah,
about that. I've never been like a
no,
water retainer. But yeah, like I actually wanted to compete this weekend in Alabama
yeah,
too, but we put the squash on that. And
yeah.
it was for a good reason. Like the last few days I've been exhausted and
Okay,
it's been like the come down from obviously the
yeah.
competition and finding out I'm gonna have another kid, like all those
Oh,
kinds of
really?
things.
Yeah, I saw Sarah post about that.
Yeah, yeah. So baby number two.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, like just so much going on that I'm like, this is not a good idea to just jump into a show, right?
Yeah,
So with the indie show, it's 3 weeks after Toronto. I think we're just gonna bring the exact same
yeah.
type of package.
Maybe like one person better or something.
Yeah, like honestly, man, like I feel like
Probably gonna
we
pump a bit
nailed it
before
so
going
good for
on
Toronto.
stage.
If I can walk out looking how I did in Toronto,
Oh,
I'll
for
be
sure.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably gonna pump a bit before going now.
I got yeah, because well, it depends. I don't know, man. Like
Yeah.
that, yeah,
It's
those are the types of small decisions you gotta make, you
yeah.
know? Yeah,
Wait though, if you have a baby in 9 months,
it's
would
February.
that would bring you in February?
The baby would be due in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would be good for the Olympia
Yeah.
next year. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I prepped like so as soon as my first son Walker he was born, I started my prep for Savannah. So I'm no stranger to prepping with
No, that's good.
newborns.
Okay,
Like
perfect.
it's not an issue. But yeah, so lots going on, but I'm excited. I just can't wait to get back on stage.
Yeah.
Like it was such a good experience in Toronto, and I just feel like yeah, I'm gonna be hard to beat, man.
Well, especially between shows, right? Because it's like, well, I'm ready, right? Like, it's not like you needed to be like 3, 4 pounds lighter or leaner for this coming
Yeah,
show.
or like
It's
make these like massive changes because you came
no,
in
it's
off.
like, okay, let's do the exact same thing and not have a fucking guy with an alien waist and
Yeah,
we'll be
hopefully that
set.
guy's not there, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's just following you.
he just didn't show up. Yeah, that guy will haunt a lot of people at pro shows.
For
So
sure.
it was actually funny because people from the outside obviously know my expectations, and I got a lot of people reaching out being like, "Hey, like sorry about not winning or
Yeah,
whatever." And I was just like, "Listen, man, like I'm thrilled with how that show went. Like I think I'm more happy about that than when I won Savannah,
yeah.
to be quite to be
Well,
quite
because
honest,
the look
because
was so good, right?
yeah, it was way better than it's ever been. Like I actually came in full, whereas I've
Yeah,
never had that before. And I think I was like 14, 15 pounds heavier
yeah.
than ever before. So it wasn't, and I wasn't lacking condition, anything like that. So I just
No,
think that the guys that are going to be at Indiana, like I have a good balance.
yeah,
And I
oh,
think
for
that
sure.
having height and structure and that kind of thing, you know, it's like
Well,
when you cover like 5 bases or whatever,
yeah,
I have like a little bit to a lot of all of them.
yeah,
Whereas there's always like a guy that's like, whether he's missing condition, whether he's missing size, whether he's missing
yeah,
structure. So um, that's where I feel like I'm well rounded enough that it's even more fun for me to do these types of shows because I go in knowing I'm going to be competitive.
yeah.
Where it's like when you go to the Olympia, it's kind of like you're
I hope I
there
can be third call
as
out, but
like
yeah,
yeah, like you're just part of the experience
yeah,
versus like being the main part,
yeah.
So um yeah, that's pretty much it with that. When I drive out, it'll be Wednesday, so
So I'm going to
maybe,
be doing the podcast alone next week, guys.
or maybe we'll pick it up
Or
on the road with my phone.
oh, that's good. Yeah, maybe we'll have a special guest. Who knows?
Yeah, you're gonna get like Nick Walker or Chris Bumstead on,
Yeah,
and I'll be off of the
yeah,
podcast that week.
yeah. Podcast is gonna get many views.
For sure.
All right, and let's touch it like real quick because I think we're gonna go off our time again.
Okay.
Um, what difference did it make for you to have your coach with you, Cam being there versus it being online?
Like, dude,
Because Cam was not just with you
it wasn't
from
just
time to time, he was at your place with you 24/7, right?
it was yeah, like I was gonna say, it wasn't just being at the show.
Yeah.
Like I think having your coach at the show is like one thing, but honestly, at that point, like
It doesn't change
what
much,
difference
right?
are they gonna
Yeah,
make?
yeah,
But I flew down to Atlanta. I stayed at his place. We did the
yeah,
podcast. I was there for a week. He came back here for a week, and we were just like bodybuilding camp. Like it was
yeah,
like multiple check-ins like a day. He monitored like look like literally every 3 hours. I was posing with Joey Belt all the time. The three of us were like going over everything. When I got down there, I was actually really flat and depleted and a
yeah,
lot more conditioned than he had thought originally. Because when he saw this podcast, he always saw my face fat and he
yeah,
was like, he's got to still be fat, right? But I got down there, I was hard. So I haven't done cardio in 3 weeks. We
yeah.
we removed all my cardio. I was eating way more food down there. It was like a vacation. Sarah was
Nice.
pissed off because she's like, "What the hell? Why are you so happy?" But I was just like a lot of less stress, I guess, on my
Yeah, for
body.
sure.
So that was a huge advantage. And then when he came back up here, it was just like so detailed of like, we were so responsive to my look. Like we
Yeah.
made maybe a handful of changes, and not even a handful, a few, where we were like, "Ooh, we pushed that too far." You
Okay.
know what I mean? Like one time we had like a little bit too high of sodium, and I started holding water, and like within a few hours we stripped it back, and I was back
Okay.
to like how we wanted to look, and then everything was just so smooth. Like we sort of like started peaking like the week out all the way into the show. And by the time I had got there, I had gotten the water off. Like, man, I woke up and we were like so happy. We were
Yeah.
like, I literally could not be any better,
Nice.
at this moment. So when I woke up that morning, we maintained that exact same weight the entire day.
Yeah.
My weight did not fluctuate from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed. Everything was measured, weighed, all those kinds of things.
That
And
was
I just would
from
not have been able to
Saturday,
achieve
right?
that without having Cam there.
Yeah, that was for Saturday, right? So one day
Yes.
out. Yeah.
Uh no.
No?
Sunday I woke
Oh, the
up
day
at
of
the
the
same weight
show. If
Yeah.
the show your weight stayed the same all day.
Yeah. So we took a little bit of a diazide the night before.
Yeah.
It actually pulled a lot, but we really liked like the drier
Yeah.
look because I had already been carb loading for like 3 days.
Okay.
So I was already really full. And that night we were like, I'm a little carrying a little bit of water as you typically would.
Yeah, for
But then
sure.
when I woke up in the morning, we were like, this is a really sharp, look. I'm
So
not
then you
flat at
just
all, but I have
stayed
no
there.
water. And we were just like really like, pretty minimal with the fluids and then just small bits of diazide through the day.
Yeah.
And we scale back food on the show day as well.
Okay.
Because I find too, like you probably see in the photos, like I can pull my vacuum really, really
Yeah.
deep. But if I eat like huge meals before I
Then
go on
there's no
stage,
way.
there's no way, especially with
Yeah.
water and stuff. So that was a little bit by design. But at the same time, it was just like once we had found the look that we wanted, we
You
were just
just
like,
kept it, right?
let's stay right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not make too many changes.
Yeah. And I feel that's something a lot of people have a hard time with because they're gonna have the look, but
They
then
panic.
yeah, and then like they go to the bathroom, they don't know if they need to eat more or less or add more sodium and all that kind of stuff. And
But
obviously having Cam with you all the
yeah,
time, not just
yeah,
on show day, but the previous days,
yeah.
well, he obviously knew what needed to be done to keep you right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It took all the guesswork out of it. Like I said, we were monitoring my look for 2 weeks leading up
Yeah,
to that show. So it wasn't like that day we were trying to figure out if I was going to excrete more or I needed to drink
yeah.
more. We were just like super, super in tune. And he's smart, man. Like
Oh,
he
for
he
sure.
has this like system in place that I don't even think like, or I know he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah,
He's still very young and he probably will
for
eventually,
sure.
but just like how focused and detailed and like very like nonchalant about
Yeah,
it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like he's just like very chill,
yeah.
which does well for me because like man, I can't deal with stress or any like high kind
No,
of stress people. Like like I said, like we made one thing where like I think I had a bunch of bacon and a little bit of salt
yeah,
and I was like kind of watery. And we're like, all right, like I guess we got to pull it back now, not
yeah,
like holy shit, like what
yeah,
happened kind of thing. So he's very even keel. We got along great. And I've obviously I've worked with a lot of people, but I've never had an experience like that before. And not to say that someone's going to reach out to him and they're going to have that same experience
yeah.
because obviously this is super unique and not something that he's going to be doing regularly.
No, for sure. And that's something that a coach is going to do with their high level athlete, but also with athletes that they get along well, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
like you don't bond the same with everyone, and like you don't want to spend 2 weeks with someone you don't get along with, because then even your attitude as a coach is going to impact the other person, and you don't want that either for that person. So,
Oh, for sure. For
do
sure.
you?
And like I think because I'm a coach too, and because I've like obviously peaked millions of times just myself, that like we had a lot of like, good conversations
Yeah,
together
for
about
sure.
what to do instead of like, when you're coaching someone who's not as in tune with their physique, they're kind of like they ask a million questions.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh my God, like, should I do this? I feel flat or I'm this or
Yeah,
I'm that. And you're just like, don't influence my
yeah,
decisions by telling me what you
yeah.
are. Like, I'm just trying to look at you objectively,
Yeah, just shut the
And
fuck up.
we didn't have to deal with that because I'm like, I've done this enough times to know like
For
where I'm
sure.
at day
For
to day.
sure. And like
But
having Cam there, you can just kind of shut your brain off, right? It's like
100%.
because it's like not even like, oh, is he gonna see me in 6 hours and be like, what the fuck happened? Because he sees you every minute, right? So
Yeah. And there's
and
no like crazy changes where we're
no,
like all of a sudden we're eating something I'm not used to, or
no,
we're like,
exactly.
drinking tons of water or whatever. Like it was
Yeah.
very just like the
Bits by
same
bits
stuff.
and yeah,
Yeah, the same stuff. Not trying to confuse too much. Very minimal diuretics,
yeah.
very safe peak,
Oh,
really.
for sure. And
Yeah.
see, like he because I kind of get how he picked you, and you talked about it with me, and Cam did too. It's very similar to how Matt does it and how I do it. And that's the thing, like these guys, and I'll include myself in there, don't miss because the changes are so small, but just incremental, that you can't have a really big drastic change in look just from one meal or two, because everything has been just small little changes, right?
I'll tell you the one thing that did scare me.
What?
Tons of food, dude.
Yeah,
Like I've never eaten close to this much in prep. Like,
yeah,
I mean, we would have refeeds where like I'd eat 1,000 grams of carbs for 3 days straight.
yeah,
Like that's just absurd, you know? But in the past, I've always over dieted. I've
yeah,
always lost tissue. I've never come in full. And this time I'm just like, I don't have an issue with getting conditioned, you
yeah,
know, like I'm gonna get conditioned. And then it's just a matter of like bringing your physique back to life.
yeah.
But the way that I think Matt does it too is very aggressive.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I don't think I've ever given a client 1,000 grams of carbs.
No.
Like, and I don't even think people could handle it. Like, I'm eating
Yeah.
like 670 grams of rice in a meal
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, what?
Yeah. Don't you feel like the more you ate, the hungrier you got, though? Or
Not
really?
on those days in
No.
particular. Like, those days satisfied me pretty good.
Okay.
Obviously, if I woke up the next day and I'm back to baseline, I'm
Then
starving
you're push.
because my
Yeah.
body's like, okay, let's have another
Yeah.
7,000 calories. But on those days, like it's so much volume that like you're pretty satisfied. But like
Yeah.
at the same time, coming off of those days, I would look my best.
Yeah.
So it's like obviously like I'm not like spilling or like,
No.
doing anything that I'm gaining body fat. Like I'm just filling out my glycogen.
Yeah. And I'm guessing the reason why he pushed more and more is because you were not spilling out, right? Obviously, if he pushed a bit and saw you were holding water, you wouldn't have pushed more and more, right?
I think he was pretty impressed with how much I could
Yeah.
handle too. Like he was like, wow, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, like I used to always think that I couldn't do that because
Yeah.
I would always diet on such low food
Yeah.
that I was scared to eat,
Yeah.
and like, it's probably not for everyone. Like you've got to have
No,
tissue to
for
obviously
sure.
be able to do that. But just to try something completely different. And obviously, when you're in a prep setting, getting 6,000 calories is like a dream,
Yeah,
So
for
I'm like,
sure.
this is all sure,
Yeah.
But for it to work the way it did, and like, I don't want to say I doubted it, but I was a little worried
Oh, for sure.
because I'm like, I've never eaten more than like 3,500 calories on a refeed or
Yeah.
4,000 calories on a refeed. So going into the show, I'm like, am I going to be hard enough?
Yeah.
And I actually found that it made me harder.
Yeah.
So it was a benefit that way too.
That's good. And now, like, right? You know forever that you can do that.
Yeah, it's
And
invaluable.
you probably will end up trying it with some clients. And it just gives you like new perspective on like, okay, I can push more,
It's
right?
funny you say that because as I was prepping Brian to do his competition,
Yeah,
you take things away from your own
for
coach
sure.
immediately, right? And I did this with Patrick, I did it with Dorian before him. And like, I was like, man, this high food thing is really working for me. And Brian's a big guy too. So I
Yeah.
started pumping his calories up
Yeah.
and he started getting better too, right? And I'm like, man, like this is
Yeah.
obviously a system for the right people. I'm not going
Yep.
to feed my bikini girl 6,000
No.
calories, but
No,
for someone
exactly.
that has size and can do it,
Yeah,
then
you can push a
great.
lot for sure.
Yeah.
What's up, Sarah?
She wants to get in on the podcast
Oh,
soon.
really?
Yeah.
Well, maybe she can be my co-host next week.
There, you got to fill in next week for me. You got to fill in my spot next week.
Did she say yes?
She's in.
Nice.
Walker will be the guest host.
Oh, that's perfect. Maybe he'll figure the webcam out.
He'll probably be much better than me.
All right. How long have we been on now? Probably over an hour again.
Sorry, it's a madhouse in here, but we got
No
to wrap it up
problem.
anyway, right? We
Yeah,
got
for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
So episode 6, that's a wrap. If you guys want to buy from Elev8, you can use my code, you can use Blake's code, you can use any athlete's code. Um, we highly appreciate the support. If you want to buy from Believe, code JG, from HD, code Blake. Is it
Just
that
use your code.
from HD? HD
Oh, for
month?
HD, you're
Yeah.
talking about. Don't use your code for HD. That won't work. My code for HD is B course.
B course.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, if you're interested in an episode more in depth about business, all that kind of stuff, let us know.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure this stuff out too. So like topics and that kind of thing, if there's anything that you guys want to hear we haven't touched on, or just help guide us a little bit too, because we get on here and like I don't even know what we're talking about half the time. We just start rolling
Yeah.
into different things and it's fun to do, but I want to make sure that it's what people want to hear at the same time too, right? Or topic wise anyway.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Peace.